Hey guys, CryptoDad here again. Thanks for joining me on the Saturday night live stream. Live from Michigan, where you can throw out questions and I'll do my best to get them answered. We'll talk about Bitcoin, we'll talk about the news, we'll talk about altcoins, going to move some crypto around for you guys, and as always, I'll do my very best to get to your questions and see if we can't troubleshoot your problems here live. Well, welcome everybody. Saturday night, good to be here. Glad to have all of you with me tonight. We had a nice little pop in the middle of the week where Bitcoin went up to around $74,000 per Bitcoin. And a lot of the altcoins also had good gains, but we've pulled back a little bit since then. But as we'll see in our market news, we're still up. So we had a nice pop, even though this downturn towards the end of the week took a little bit of the shine off of it. We'll talk about that. Florida has also passed a stablecoin bill, which I'll go into some detail on. This is a big step. They're the first state to pass stablecoin regulation. So let's take a look at that. Also, Kraken has been given Fed payment rails. So the Kraken no longer has to rely on a bank to... Sorry, guys. No longer has to rely on partner banks for their onboarding and offboarding. And so this is going to make Kraken a lot more stable. We're also going to see a lot of other exchanges like Coinbase push for this same relationship. Also, US dollar coin topped Tether this week in stablecoin flows. And we've been having a lot of stablecoin flows, which is good for the market. So let's go ahead and jump into the news, guys. Great to have everybody here. All right, let's adjust our monitor here. So we're on this screen here. Yeah. All right, so our market news here. Bitcoin slips below 68,000 as dollar posts steepest weekly gain in a year. Most majors gave back Friday gains, with Solana down 4%, Ether falling 4.4%, and 43 of Bitcoin supply now sitting at a loss, according to Glassnode data. Bitcoin slid about 3.4% down to 68,000 on Saturday after a midweek surge up to 74,000, which I mentioned earlier, continuing a pattern of late week selling within a tight trading range. Despite the pullback, major cryptocurrencies remain modestly higher on the week. Good stuff, even as a surging US dollar and expectations of delayed Federal Reserve rate cuts weigh on risk assets. Also, on-chain data shows that 43% of Bitcoin supply is now at a loss, which is one of the reasons that these rallies aren't gaining a lot of steam. There's people kind of on the sidelines waiting to break even so they can get out. So let's go into a little more detail here. I'm going to pull up my green screen. Forgot all about that. The majors took a hard hit. Ether dropped 4.4%. To 1974. Solana fell 4% down to 84.31. Ooh, boy, if you were waiting for Solana to go down, now's the time. I remember when Solana was up over 200, and I kept watching it every time it dipped down to the mid, around 150, thinking, oh man, I should scoop up some more Solana. And here it is at 84. So who knows? Dogecoin is also down to 9 cents, and BNB down to 627. If you remember, BNB had broken 1,000 back when we were in our big rally. So if you're a big fan of BNB, this might be the time to get some. Of course, not financial advice. I'm just kind of noting these bargain prices. Let's see here. I wanted to... the on-chain data paints a fragile picture beneath the surface. 43% of Bitcoin's total market cap is now sitting at a loss. As Bitcoin recover, Those underwater holders have an incentive to sell into any rally to break even, creating a persistent resistance on the way up. It's one reason the push to 74,000 on Thursday couldn't hold. Every bounce towards higher prices runs into supply from people who've been waiting months to get out, right? One bright spot came from stablecoin flows. Messari recorded a 415% jump in net stablecoin inflows to 1.7 billion over the week, with daily transfers up nearly 10%. That's potentially dry powder waiting to be deployed. And it suggests retail isn't entirely absent despite the fear-heavy sentiment. Whether that capital rotates into Bitcoin or waits for lower prices is the question. The war continues to set the tempo. The U.S.-Iran conflict showed no signs of resolution this week. Oil remains elevated. The Strait of Hormuz is still disrupted. And the macro backdrop of strong dollar, sticky inflation, and delayed rate cuts is the worst combination for risk assets. Not kind of bad macroeconomic news. Here's the good news. The title of the stream: Florida Senate passes state-level stablecoin bill. Awaits DeSantis' signature. So it passed at the state level unanimously, if I recall correctly. Bill 314 has cleared the Florida Senate unanimously. The measure is set to become law once signed by DeSantis, which could be within the next month. That's pretty cool. The very first state to pass a stablecoin framework in the nation. So let's take a look at that. Under SB 314, Florida's Control of Money Laundering and Money Services Business Act will be amended to explicitly include stablecoins. The update requires stablecoin issuers to comply with existing financial regulations while banning unlicensed issuance within the state. The legislation also clarifies that certain payment stablecoins will not be classified as securities. This is a big one. This has been going back and forth for many years, whether cryptocurrencies should be classified as securities or commodities or just currency, right? So, but having stablecoin be not classified as securities is a big step in Florida. Issuers based outside Florida must notify the state's Office of Financial Regulation before operating. Oversight will depend on the structure of the issuer. Some stablecoin operators will fall exclusively under the OFR, while others will face joint supervision alongside the Office of Comptroller of the Currency. The law also addresses potential risks tied to stablecoin incentives. That means stablecoin rewards. Qualified issuers will be barred from paying interest or yield to holders if federal rules prohibit such payments. Now that means the issuers, for example, Tether issues Tether tokens and Circle issues US dollar coins. So they're not allowed to natively allow staking. The worry is that if people can just hold stablecoin in a wallet and earn rewards, that they'll withdraw all their money from banks and put their money in stablecoin, and we'll have cats and dogs living together. So they're barring that. However, issuers or institutions like Kraken or other cryptocurrencies exchanges are able to give rewards. So that's a good thing. In October last year, Florida lawmakers revived efforts to integrate cryptocurrencies into state investment strategies. And then somewhere in here it mentions that they might include crypto payments for some government services. I may have glossed over that. Maybe that's down here towards the end. So big win in Florida for the crypto industry, stablecoins specifically. Also here I mentioned about Kraken scoring a Fed account. The Federal Reserve has issued a limited use master account to Kraken, marking a major pro-crypto shift in policy. Recent events at the U.S. Federal Reserve signal acceptance of digital assets at the highest levels of the country's monetary system. Kraken recently became the first crypto exchange to receive a master account at the Federal Reserve. The Fed could also see a new crypto-friendly chair. U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday submitted a pro-Bitcoin candidate for the Senate's consideration. These developments suggest a significant shift in how the Fed could treat the crypto industry. But there are detractors, right? So, Kraken announced that its Wyoming chartered bank, Kraken Financial, had been awarded a Fed master account. That made it the first digital asset bank in U.S. history to gain direct access to the Fed Reserve's payment infrastructure. With the Federal Reserve master account, we can operate not as a peripheral participant in the U.S. banking system, but as a directly connected financial institution. The master account represents access to the most coveted form of money for financial institutions, dollars held directly within the Federal Reserve System. These dollars are widely perceived as risk-free. For an exchange like Kraken, it improves reliability and efficiency for moving fiat deposits in and out of digital assets. So that means that it'll be easier to onboard and offboard. As I mentioned earlier, Kraken won't be relying on partner banks anymore. They've got their own Fed rails. But not every financial institution is granted access, and certainly not the upstart disruptors of the cryptocurrency industry, at least for now. The Federal Reserve System is split into 12 different banks. When these banks came together for an important policy decision, each has a certain degree of autonomy. In an effort to bring the Fed system a bit closer, Congress passed the Monetary Control Act of 1980. The law gave depository institutions access to Federal Reserve accounts. This was the beginning of the master account. Now there's 3 tiers. There's federally chartered banks with deposit insurance, federally chartered banks without deposit insurance, and state chartered banks. The Federal Reserve Board thinks banks in Tier 1 should get master account access, while Tier 3 banks are subject to heightened scrutiny, and Tier 2 somewhere in the middle. The crypto industry has long had a problem with finding banks willing to serve them. Those that would were often state chartered banks, which already had trouble accessing the federal system. And then they came up with the, the skinny account. This was in 2025, a new type of account that would provide access to Fed payment rails, but also control for certain risks while carrying restrictions. These are limits on account size, no interest on balance, balancing caps, no daylight overdraft privileges, not eligible for discount window borrowing. And this is what Kraken got. It may be limited comparatively, but it's still a major victory for the institutionalization of crypto. Banks aren't too happy about this. Let's see. Romero Rainey wrote, granting non-bank entities and crypto institutions access to master accounts pose risk to the banking system. Yeah. She said there are significant risks to expanding direct Fed account access to institutions that operate outside the traditional banking regulatory framework. Yeah. The regulatory framework that allows banks to create money out of thin air. We don't want that sort of power going to non-bank entities, do we? We also have a pro-crypto banker that could soon lead the Fed, Kevin Warsh. But he's not going to breeze through the Senate confirmation. So we'll see. But these two factors, the pro-Fed, the pro-Bitcoin Fed candidate and Kraken getting access to the Fed rails are big steps towards institutional adoption. And as I mentioned, we'll probably see other exchanges like Coinbase and Gemini and Binance US trying to get access to these same types of accounts. It's going to be great, right? Also, U.S. dollar beats Tether as stablecoin transfer volume hits 1.8 trillion all-time high. Stablecoin monthly transaction volume reached a record 1.8 trillion. That's within 1 month. as US dollar coin surprised analysts with a 70% of the total volume. Stablecoin monthly transaction volumes reached 1.8 trillion in February. USDC compromised 70%. Rising stablecoin supply on exchanges puts crypto markets in a good position to recover. The stablecoin transfer volume reached 1.8 trillion in February, setting a monthly record. Stablecoins are cryptocurrencies designed to maintain a stable value, typically pegged to fiat currencies like the US dollar, and can be hosted on multiple blockchains. Similarly, the volume of USDC transactions reached a high of 1.26 trillion, representing a new milestone in the adoption of the second largest stablecoin by market cap since its launch in September 2018. This was more than double that of US Tether, whose transfer volume was 514 billion in February. In fact, US dollar coin has consistently flipped Tether in transfer volume over the last few months. It's not surprising. US dollar coin is sort of, accepted because it's a US-based company. It's associated with Coinbase, so Coinbase makes it very easy to use. US dollar coin, it's practically free to transfer and convert in US dollar coin on Coinbase. Coinbase isn't owned by Circle, but they have a very close relationship. And on the other hand, Tether has always kind of been bashed and has kind of a bad reputation, has a lot of regulatory problems in Europe. And because of that, using Tether, particularly on Coinbase, involves high gas fees. And which get passed along to the consumers on Coinbase. So if you want to swap into Tether or cash out Tether, you're going to pay higher fees. So it's only natural that US dollar coin should be taking a higher position now. So that's it for the news, guys. I want to just thank everyone for being here. Let's greet all of our good friends here. Andreas Ebert, Goofy Dude, Mr. Miskey, Hands Hannah 350. I spoke with Kenny earlier. I don't see him in the stream. He didn't mention that he wasn't going to be here. So wondering where Kenny is. Hopefully he'll join us. Maybe he is here. Let's see, Amsterdam, Holland. Paul is here. May the crypto gods bless one and all. Lakir 45, risky to swap in the Ledger wallet. Well, why don't we do a little swap in the Ledger wallet? In theory, no, but you do have to. The Ledger wallet is just a tool, and there are certain payment processors that are involved in some of the swaps that you should be aware of. Like there's a lot of, and I can't think of it right now. It's not. Oh well. There's one of the third parties that has been people on Reddit don't like. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't think of the name of this company. Changely, there it is. Changely, they have to abide by financial regulations, and if a swap looks risky, they will freeze it and then require compliance from the person doing the swap. And a lot of people look at this as some sort of scam. I doubt that they're a scam, or they probably would have been shut down for fraud long ago. But that is one thing you need to be aware of, that when you do a swap within Ledger Live, you aren't using Ledger Live per se. You're using third-party payment processors. We'll do a few swaps in Ledger Live, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Treb 3 HR by Catherine. Oh, there's Kenny. He's late. Good to have you here. I don't know what you missed. Probably not too much. Me flubbing up the news a little bit, but I was able to spit it out to the best of my ability. Let's see. Dan the Man Westra is here. I have swapped crypto many times in Ledger. No issues. You can go back and watch. Yeah, thanks. Anyone having trouble with your 1099 DAs? I've got some answers for you. I just want to make sure I greeted. Lord is here, and David is here, and Ned Rec 1 is here. So yeah, I did want to briefly cover the description, a little overview of what we're going to talk about tonight. Latest videos. I did a follow-up video on my 1099 DA video. The original video did pretty well. I explained what a 1099 DA was and how it wasn't the end-all be-all, that it's merely proceeds, not capital gains. And I had quite a few questions in the comment section of that video. So I did a follow-up video with some of the top questions that people have about 1099 DAs. So if you had a question about your 1099 DA, I would recommend that you watch both of those videos, but maybe this one if you had specific questions. And then I also did a video on the Ledger Nano G5, which I consider the price point king in the Ledger lineup. I did this video and talked about its comparison with the Ledger Nano X and the Stacks and the Flex. And basically, if you're already using a Ledger Nano S or a Ledger Nano X, or you're even considering buying one of those, I talked about the big difference in features between the Ledger Nano X and the Ledger Nano G5. You're getting a lot it's an $80 difference in price between the Ledger Nano X and the Ledger Nano S, the Ledger Nano G5. So that $80 gets you quite a bit. And then also kind of talked about why maybe you might want to go with a Flex or a Stacks, and maybe why you wouldn't want to go with a Stacks or a Flex, right? So it's a great comparison video. One thing that I didn't realize after I posted this video is that apparently in the US, it's still on pre-order. I meant to check in with my Ledger rep to see if I could get some clarity on when it's going to ship proper. I had actually thought that it had started shipping, but I guess I was wrong about that. So I apologize. Someone in the comments brought that up, that, hey, you can't even get this thing. It's not shipping yet. So hopefully it will. The indicators seem to be that it has, it's finalized. It's been submitted to the FCC, and the government shutdown caused some delays, but they should be getting the FCC certification or approval, which is kind of a rubber stamp, actually, for sales in the U.S. So hopefully you guys will be able to get your hands on one of these pretty soon. Also, check out my Ledger page. If you get the Ledger Nano Gen 5, you can get $10 in Bitcoin back using my CryptoDad landing page. You can get $10 in Bitcoin back on any of these purchases. So if you want to get one, if you're on a budget and you want to get one of these lower end models, you get $10 in Bitcoin back on the $59 Ledger Nano S Plus, which effectively makes it, $49. So that's good. But I highly recommend the Nano Gen 5. It's an awesome device. That touchscreen makes all the difference in the world. Speaking of touchscreens, you might want to check out the Trezor Safe 7, a great crypto wallet from Trezor. It's their flagship product. Has a beautiful, large color touchscreen. If you're a fan of Trezor and you're using an old Trezor 1 or a Trezor T, I would highly recommend moving up to one of their touchscreen models, the Trezor Safe 5 or the Trezor Safe 7. And if you're on a budget, just move up to the Trezor Safe 3, which is, it's the same price as a Ledger Nano S Plus. It doesn't have a touchscreen, though. It's a button interface, but still a decent product. Also, Tangem has extended their sale from March 2nd to March 9th, so you can still get that deal. I've got a link in the description where if you click that link, it'll combine these checkout codes, save you 20%, and you'll get a $10 Bitcoin reward. So good stuff going on over at Tangem. Check out Tangem. Also, you might check out the Tangem app you can download it and use it for free without even buying one of their wallets. And you can also participate in some of their rewards programs. If you download the Tangem app, keep an eye out for that staking banner, where it's a promotion where if you stake $100 or more within your Tangem app for at least 30 days, you'll get a $10 reward. So pretty cool stuff going on over at Tangem. They're trying to make it, they're a great, easy to use hardware wallet, and they're trying to help people earn a little income. What happened to I must have gone out. I thought that I had, let's just paste it in here. I wanted to just blurb about Stamp Seed. This is a great way to keep your seed phrase. I must have just got distracted while I was putting it. There's Stamp Seed right there. Titanium seed phrase storage medium. Bulletproof, waterproof, fireproof, fade-proof, tear-proof, all that good stuff. A great way to store your seed phrase. All right, let's jump over here and see what everyone's talking about. Oh, I think I pretty much went down there. Northwest 34 asks, do I like Trezor Safe 7 or Ledger Flex or Stacks personally for regular use? I try not to recommend one thing over another. I would like to let the end user come to their own conclusions. I like to provide as much information as possible, but personally I use Stacks and Flex much more than my Trezor Safe 7. That's just me personally. I've been using Ledger products for years. They have all the features that my previous Ledger products have, mainly, compatibility across the board with third-party wallets, power and flexibility, and the secure screen technology, and clear signing so that you can see your transactions. So I still like the Trezor Safe 7. It's just not one of my go-to wallets, right? I'm not putting them down or anything, just giving you my personal preference. That was a great video I did on the 1099. Thank you, Goofy Dude. Appreciate that. I want to thank everyone that comes to the live stream. Fred McIntyre springs to mind, that always gives me positive comments when I post videos. Also, I wanted to call out Alina. I can't remember his first name now. Alina's dad, who bought me a coffee last week. I wanted to thank him for that. It was very nice. But I really appreciate all the support you guys give me. And really, that's just being here is the best thing you can do. I always am so happy to see everyone here on a regular basis. It makes me feel good. Also, I wanted to cover this. Someone brought it up early on in the comments, who I believe lived in Michigan. But we had a tornado in Century City, Union City. I'm thinking of California, which killed some people. So my condolences and heartfelt prayers go out to everyone in Union City. And also a 12-year-old boy was reported near Edwardsburg, where several people were injured close to the Indiana state line. This is Union City. I'm up here in Grand Rapids. Union City is closer to the Indiana state line. This is Edwardsburg over here, where the 12-year-old boy died. So I don't think it was the exact same tornado. And then I believe there was some activity over here in Three Rivers as well. So condolences out to fellow Michiganders, and hope that you get through that hard time. Let's see. So where are we? I wanted to do a couple of swaps. Let me make sure that I'm up to date on all those. Fair enough. I just got the Trezor Safe 7 and love it so far. Upgraded from an OG Ledger Nano. Okay, yeah. But I'm also going to buy a Ledger Flex and use both. Yeah, the The Trezor Safe 7 is a great for the majors, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. But if you're one of those people that gets involved in lots of other coins, the Ledger line has more broad support. But that doesn't mean that a Trezor Safe 7 isn't useful and secure. Their commitment to open architecture is also very admirable. So, like I said, I have both. I just use my Ledger more. That was the question. So I answered it. I have some coins showing on my Ledger app that I didn't buy, and there's a zero balance. Do you have any videos on how to delete those from my Ledger account? 1964, Deidre, you cannot delete coins on the blockchain. Unfortunately, it's kind of like getting junk mail. They're not going to hurt anything, but they're basically, if you interact with them, you might get phished because sometimes they will direct you to malicious websites, but you can ignore them safely. Also, if you see a token in one of your Ethereum accounts, for example, you can ignore it or hide it, right? So if you right-click on a token, like this Noodle Finance, for example, you can right-click on it and do a hide token if you just don't want to see it anymore. But there's no way to delete tokens on the blockchain. Your Ethereum address is on the blockchain. It's public. Anyone can see it. There are lots of blockchain crawlers out there that can find addresses, and scammers will blast out tokens to people, hoping that they'll click and interact with them. And let's see what happens when I go to this one, if anything. No, it would have to be like an NFT to have like the web links and everything. But just having a token in your wallet is not going to hurt you. Just don't interact with them. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think there's any. I don't see. Oh, let's see if you go and look at it on a blockchain explorer. I don't see any links or anything like that. But sometimes the contract addresses are kind of messed up to where, you can buy them but not sell them. They're sort of the contracts are sort of crippled. So don't interact with them. But they cannot drain your wallet. They can't just drain other tokens out of your wallet. So they're not going to hurt anything. You can't delete them from the blockchain, but you can hide them if that makes you feel any better. But they're really nothing to worry about. Annoying, but, it just comes with the territory. All right. Let's do some swaps here. Let's swap some stocks. Let's see. Let me go over here to this guy. And this is my Ledger Stacks. No, it's not a Stacks. It's a Flex. Come on, Rex. Get it together. I like the Flex and Stacks because you can put a lock screen picture on there. And it's an e-ink display. Even when the device is off, the lock screen picture stays on there. Because it's just kind of the bits get flipped. And even with no power, the picture stays on there. It's kind of cool. So let's do a swap so I can sort of demonstrate how these... Let me go to this screen here. Yeah. Let me go over here. This is a little bit awkward. Oh, and I've got that camera in the way too. But anyway, whoops. Yeah, let's go ahead and start the swap, and then we'll flip over to the device itself. So in the Ethereum Flex, now you'll notice that I'm looking at my account interface here, and that I have multiple devices. I've got a Stacks, a Flex, a G5, and they're all being managed in this instance of Ledger Live. And you'll notice that I name them accordingly so that I can tell them apart. Ledger Live will know if you have the wrong device attached and try to manage the wallet. It's going to give you an error message. That's the dreaded oops, something went wrong error message that I get a lot of people asking me questions about. It generally means there's a mismatch between the account and the device. And this can happen if you have the wrong device attached, as I'm mentioning here. If I connect my Flex to my Stacks account, it'll give me that error message. But a lot of people get this message when they inadvertently reset their device by entering the PIN incorrectly 3 times. And then instead of restoring it, they'll set it up as brand new, and now they have 2 different configurations. That error comes up quite a bit. But anyway, I avoid that error by making sure that I name them accordingly. So we want to go down here to my, I even have my Ethereum Paris stacks. Let me see, where do I have that one? This one over here. Yeah, I'll enumerate those pretty soon. But here we go. Is this the right one? Yeah. So the Ethereum Flex has some stablecoin in there, and it's got just enough Ethereum in there to cover fees for my swaps. Ethereum fees have gone down quite a bit. So what I'd like to do is swap this US dollar coin into something else. Let's see if maybe I was thinking, I don't know if this would be, let's just swap it for another token. Let's just swap it for Bitcoin. Not a big swap, but so we go into the token itself. We'll hit swap here. And what I'd like to do is swap this US dollar coin. And it says I've got the balance up here. And then you can decide which other coin you want to swap for. I could swap it for Tether if I wanted to, or back to Ethereum. But let's go ahead and do Bitcoin. And it wants to know which account. Now I'm going to keep it on the same device, even though I don't think that's strictly necessary. But let's go ahead and line up that swap. And let's just do $20 worth. We're going to do a small test transaction. We aren't going to pay too much of a fee. Notice here that these are the third-party payment processors that come up when you're doing swaps. Now let's if we go up a little more, let's say, whoops. No, it's still got MoonPay at the top. Interesting. Usually it's near intense. That's usually the one that I use. Let's go back down to 20. But you just have to remember, now when you're in the swap interface, you can use these without signing up for an account. However, if the transaction gets flagged, then you will be required to provide documentation of your identity, your where you bought the coin, all that kind of stuff. So you get a lot of people on Reddit that come in and say they were trying to swap, like 100 grand, and now Changelly is holding their 100 grand. I don't know who would jump into a swap interface and swap 100 grand worth of crypto, but I guess some people do. But always kind of map out what you're doing and what all the implications are in what you're doing. I've used near intense before. I know it works just fine. I've never had any problems with it, so I'll go ahead and use near intense. All right, now that we've got that lined up, let's go over here. And I did want to show you. No. Oh, yeah. I just got to get rid of this here for a sec. Yeah. Let me put this down a little bit. Actually, let me move this over just a tad. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, even that's not working that great. Oh, well. Yeah, I've got this setup over here that's kind of ganky. But anyway, here's my Flex. Here's my Paris Gen 5, which I like this Gen 5. It's got these little badges that you can swap in and out. I've got several badges, so it kind of gives you the option to personalize your device, which I think is pretty cool. And of course, you've got the lock screen capability. But notice that the Gen 5 uses a plastic frame instead of an aluminum frame. So that's one factor that allows you to save a little money, that they can bring the price point down. It doesn't have any sound, but that's not a huge deal either. Some people, they feel comfort in hearing the little beeps when they're punching in their PIN and things like that. So they might prefer, say, a Stacks over a Gen 5. But price-wise, this thing is an awesome deal. And here's my Stacks. And then I told you that I have this Paris Stacks over here. It's got a picture of my wife and I when we were in Paris, which we had a wonderful time. We went to the Ledger Open there. So yeah, I mean, I use a lot of devices, and I can manage them all in this copy of Ledger Live. As you saw earlier, I have specific accounts named for each of these devices. All right, so first, if we're going to do this swap, let's get going. I think we're talking too much, right? Let's go ahead and hit swap. Now it wants me to connect the device. You can't really see it because I'm in the way. Whoops. Okay, Rex, there's something in the way. Ugh. Come on, there we go. Yeah, okay, so now you can see it wants me to connect my device. So let's do that. Let's get this out of the way. I got the right cable. Yep. If I don't yank it out of the wall or yank it out of the USB port. There we go. All right, so there's that little beep. Yeah. Okay, so we enter our PIN first and foremost. All right, which opens up. Now I've already initiated this transaction. So the first thing Ledger is going to ask me is, will I allow Ledger Live a secure connection to the device? I will say yes. All right, now it's going to launch the Exchange app. The Exchange app is the app that allows us to do swaps. We'll hit open there. So we've launched the app. All right, oh, come on. No. Okay, there. Receive address does not belong to this Ledger device. Actually, it does, unless I chose the wrong Bitcoin. Yes, I did. I chose the Stacks Bitcoin address, so I'm swapping to a different device, which is fine. The receiving device doesn't need to really do anything. I just need to give it the address. We'll go ahead and do that. Now it wants me to review this transaction. Notice how clear and easy to read this is. And it's a touchscreen interface. I don't have to use that ganky 2-button thing. It tells me exactly what I'm doing, the exchange partner, how much I'm sending, how much Bitcoin I'm going to get back, the Ethereum fees that I'm going to need to pay, right? And the receiving address. And hold to sign. So we'll just hold this down and off it goes. Now this might take, it could take anywhere from 10 minutes to 20 to 30 minutes, but it will occur and you can check it on the blockchain. So let's go back over here. Yeah, I should have arranged everything over there a little better so I wasn't getting the top of the webcam in the shot. All right, let me move myself over slightly again. So the transaction was broadcast successfully to the blockchain. Let's see the details. It shows us basically what we saw on our screen before we approved the near intents, the swap ID. In case it never shows up, I can use that swap ID if I need to contact support. The status is unknown at the time, according to Ledger Live. It's got today's date from US dollar coin, 20 US dollar coin, and I should be getting this Bitcoin back on my Ledger Stacks. We can even hit View and Explore, and this will take us over to the Blockchain Explorer, where it shows us on the blockchain exactly what I've done, and shows that it's pending. And so we'll basically just wait until we see the Bitcoin in our account, and then we'll know it's done. I did one of these earlier. Did one of these swaps earlier with Near Intense. I trust it completely. They've never asked me for any KYC documentation. Let's do a quick swap, or let's just do a stablecoin transfer, and we'll do it over to Coinbase. Wait a minute. Let me check to see if there are any questions about that swap. Okay, I answered Deidre's question. How anyone would want to use these portfolio tracking applications beyond me sure takes the decentralization out of things. Yeah, if some people are a little more private and hold their cards closer to the vest, there are quite a few people that you'll see on talking on Reddit that say that they never use Ledger Live at all. They use Ledger Device, but they use it with third-party apps like MetaMask or Rabby, and they use it for DeFi. And even if they're going to hold Bitcoin, they use Electrum Bitcoin Wallet. That's all fine. It's not really beginner-friendly. Most beginners really want a turnkey solution, which is why I usually do my demos in Ledger Live, because that's where most people are coming from. But yeah, it's the Ledger, as I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons I use the Ledger Device is because of its power and its flexibility. You don't have to use Ledger Live if you don't want to. And you mentioned that it's a portfolio manager. It is, but I don't really consider it the best portfolio manager out there. I consider it a great wallet interface, a great place to send and receive, maybe stake and swap. But as far as tracking my portfolio, it's not the best portfolio manager out there. There are standalone portfolio managers, which some of them can be connected directly to your blockchain's wallet, so they're very accurate. Others, you manually put in the coins you own and the price you paid for them. But, for example, this indicator here that the portfolio is down 500 incorporates the fact that I've transferred some crypto out. And that's not really a very accurate representation of this amount, whether I've gained or lost on the crypto that was put into this price-wise, right? So they take into account transfers, so it's not a great way to sort of follow and track your investment as to whether you've made money or lost money on your investments. It's not the best. Just saying. But let's see. Anyone else about that? Yeah. Best wallets, Ledger Flex, Arculus, and Tangem. Okay. Every time a new person gets a hardware wallet, one of the first questions they ask is, should I do a software update? Yeah, I get a lot of people that are worried about doing software updates, and you really shouldn't be worried about updating your wallet. Crypto hardware devices are gadgets, just like your phone or your computer. Crypto is not static. It changes. Ethereum upgraded from proof of work to proof of stake. So the applications and the devices that handle your cryptocurrency have to be able to adapt and upgrade. If it was a static device that couldn't be updated, it would become obsolete within 6 months to a year, and then you would be basically forced to buy a new one. It would lose functionality, and nobody wants that. So the devices were designed to be flexible and upgradable, but of course people are very suspicious when they see that the device needs an update. One thing I will say though is that, and let me see if I can find the latest one. There was one, it wasn't too long ago, that appeared to be from Trezor, and I think it came in yesterday or the day before. Oh, before I forget, Jesse Hogbin from Caleb and Brown will be joining me here next week on the live stream to talk about Caleb and Brown. I did a video on Caleb and Brown. It's a crypto white glove or crypto custody firm with one-on-one tech support for people that maybe self-custody is not the best fit for them. So yeah, I just wanted to remember, I wanted to shout out that I'm going to have Jesse on next week. So look forward to that. Let me see if I can find that. Come on, Rex. Where is it? Let me try this way. Trezor. Yes, this one right here. Now this one is promoting a physical card program, but a lot of times you'll get these emails that look like they're from Trezor or Ledger saying that your device needs to be updated. And they are phishing emails. If you'll note, this is not from Trezor.io or Trezor.com or anything of the sort, right? So you definitely don't want to try to perform upgrades by clicking links in emails. That's a big no-no. But the Ledger upgrades are presented to you within Ledger Live in the secure enclave. So if you launch Ledger Live and Ledger Live tells you need to run an update, then you should want to do that. That it's in your best interest. The security, usability, the functionality of the device is better when you keep it completely up to date. So yeah, but that you're right. That is a huge question I get. People are just so worried about running updates, but then they're quick to fall for scams like this, But they're paranoid about doing updates, but they're clicking links in emails like there's no tomorrow. So don't be penny wise and pound foolish, I guess is the word. I don't know if that applies here or not, but yeah, make sure that you are skeptical where skepticism is required. And then trusting of your Ledger Live interface, right? This is a secure enclave, and it has cryptographic verification on your device. The same goes for Trezor Suite as well. If you're in Trezor Suite and Trezor Suite tells you you need an update, you should run the update. It's in your best interest. So let's see here. I wanted to take a little bit of this stablecoin that we were playing around with, and let's just transfer it over to Coinbase. Come on, baby. There we go. Yeah, let's do a send over to Coinbase of, let's say 50 in stablecoin. So we'll go over to we'll go over to Coinbase. If I can find Coinbase, I thought I had it up here earlier. I think I left it there. Let's see. Here we go. So what we want to, you know what? Let's do Kraken. Yeah, we were going to do Kraken. Yeah, let's definitely do Kraken. Let's go back. Yeah, Kraken is the big winner with the Fed rails. So I'm going to log into Kraken. Now I have, oh boy, I don't think I need to launch my password manager here. So allow me. Doggone it. This always happens. I'm usually pretty good at that. Yeah, there we go. All right, so I have a password manager, 1Password. I use a passkey for my two-factor authentication. I've got a security key over on my desktop. Let me show you that. Yeah, I don't think the camera's pointed the right way, so I'm going to just touch it. All right, and I like this YubiKey 5C. It has a PIN code, so somebody can't just come in here and steal my hardware and use it. Now it wants me to touch it again. It's good stuff. I did a YubiKey video a couple of weeks back. You might want to check the YubiKey video out for securing your online accounts. It's not a crypto hardware wallet. It's not a replacement for a crypto hardware wallet. It is a two-factor device that secures your online accounts, protects you from phishing attacks. All right, so let's make that deposit here. Brax S, thank you so much for that. Appreciate that very much. Let's see, we're going to deposit stablecoin, right? We're going to go USDC. We're going to say we want to make a deposit of stablecoin, and we're going to use the Ethereum network. It's in my Ethereum wallet. We'll hit I understand, and they're going to give me an Ethereum address to make my deposit. So we'll go back over to our Ledger Live. We're doing a send from our stablecoin account. We'll paste in the address of my Kraken account. And this address is unique to me, to my account. They maintain, each user with a Kraken account gets their own crypto addresses for their deposits. All right. So we'll hit continue here. Now we tell it how much. Let's say we're going to do 50. And then I'm just going to leave the fees at medium. Now, there are other stablecoin networks like Base and Polygon with lower fees, but I'm going to go ahead and stick with Ethereum. It's going to cost me 26 cents. Let's hit continue. All right. And then we're going to need to verify on the device once we do this. All right, we'll go back over to this one. All right, now it wants me to open the Ethereum app. Get over here. So we'll tap open. All right, it's going to open Ethereum app, and then it's going to give me the transaction details. All right, so it wants me to review. Just notice how much easier this thing is to use than a Ledger Nano X. If you're using a Ledger Nano X and you've been using it for a while, you're probably comfortable with it. But I've dealt with so many people that are just not comfortable with the Ledger Nano X or the Ledger S or S Plus because of the little 2-button interface. It is confusing. This one is very simple to use. You just swipe to the next screen. It's telling us what we're doing, US dollar coin. We're sending 50 to this address. You remember we can confirm that. Yeah, see, there's the address we're sending to. So we can confirm that between the exchange and my device. Double check. Your device never lies. Secure screen technology. Let me go back to Ledger Live. Okay, there we go. All right, so we'll finish the verification here on the device. Swipe, there's the fees, and then I'll hold to sign. So we'll hit that, and off it goes. Transaction signed. All right, so we sent that. Let's see if that Bitcoin came in. It's a little bit early. But we did send we did do a swap to Bitcoin earlier. Let's go back. Well, and we sent it to the Bitcoin Stacks account, right? We sent it to a different device. And there it is. Yeah. So we got about $19 worth of Bitcoin in that swap. That worked out for us pretty well. And then we can go back over to, we can scroll down to the bottom here. Whoops, sorry. If we're in portfolio, we can scroll down and see our transaction history here. We paid some Ethereum fees and we sent out this US dollar coin onto the Explorer. This is going to Kraken. We can even look, even though we deposited in Kraken, we can take a look of it, the transaction on the blockchain. Let's go over to Kraken and let's see what happened. I don't think it's actually hit Kraken yet. I usually get an email alert when I do a transfer to Kraken. You'll see an alert saying, hey, you just had a deposit hit Kraken. So keep an eye out for that. Okay. So yeah, I'm not sure. That probably, let me just see what people are saying and kind of make sure that everyone Once again, Brax, thank you so much for your donation. I appreciate that. Rex, could you have used another exchange to save money? I think the question is, would it have been cheaper if I had simply transferred the stablecoin that was in my wallet, maybe to Coinbase or Kraken, to do the swap? It's possible that even with the transfer fees, that you might end up being cheaper for certain types of transactions. But for some transactions, Coinbase is actually more expensive. Like, for example, if I have $1,000 in Bitcoin and I transfer it over to Coinbase to do a swap, I might get swapped to US dollar or even swap to stablecoin. They might charge me around $15, $20 just in trading fees. Not to mention the gap, I forget what it's called, the slippage, right? So on the other hand, I could transfer that stablecoin over to Kraken and do a swap to Bitcoin, maybe cheaper than I could in the ledger interface as well. It's not always cut and dried. This always works. This doesn't always work, right? So I wanted to do the demo in Ledger Live so you could see how it worked. But the swap from stablecoin to Bitcoin might have been cheaper had I transferred it over to Kraken, because I have a Kraken Plus account and I get free trading fees. So, but that doesn't occur. If it's not slippage, that's not the word I'm looking for. There's a word that when you do market trades, Dan knows what it is. Looks like Kitty's here too. Where did that cat go? He's cat. Oh well, I was going to show Kitty on my lap, but he left. Kitty's been kind of a pest today. It was raining earlier. Oh, there he is. He's right here again. Okay. Come on, Kitty. Say hello to everybody. Oh. Big fat cat. He's a big fat cat. This cat likes to eat plastic, of all things. It's a weird habit for a cat. But, he'll, a sandwich bag, shopping bags, he goes over there and chews like little bits of them off. I don't know what that's all about. We still didn't get that deposit of stablecoin. Usually happens a lot quicker. I'm surprised that it didn't hit the account quicker. But maybe they're a little busy tonight. In the evenings, in the U.S. evenings, exchanges are a little busier than like when you do transfers early in the morning or midday when most people are working. They might be quicker. So yeah. And let me get this. Let me make sure all my questions are answered here. I'm using coin tracking to track my coins, and AI makes it easy explaining how the application works. Good. That's good. How do you advise folks on checking their wallet addresses? First four and last four? Well, I can't. I do that, especially with very familiar wallet addresses. It's usually I can gestalt it and go, oh, yeah, I've seen this address many times. But, if you're going to ask me, as an educator, I would say you should check all of the digits. It's not that difficult to just check them all. Now, of course, when you're using a ledger or a Trezor, you can pretty much trust the screen of the device. And if you're doing your transactions the way I did them, where you're always grabbing the address, the deposit address, specifically every time, and not reusing old transactions to grab your addresses, then you can pretty much, look at the first four and last four. But best practice is to check the entire address. If you may have been a victim of address poisoning in your wallet. Address poisoning is when a scammer looks at the transactions going in and out of a wallet, and if it has a lot of activity, they'll send a zero transaction to that wallet with an address very similar, hoping that the end user will reuse an old wallet address in a transaction rather than, retrieving the address manually every time. And then you can end up sending to an attacker's address. So in that case, if you had your fallback of checking the entire address from beginning to end, then even if you were reusing an old address, you would detect it before you sent it based on that, full address check. So best practice is full address check. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know, you were trying to trap me there and say, oh yeah, he's going to tell me just to wing it and look at the first four and last four, where they change. It's possible that a address poisoning attack, and address poisoning attacks will use the last four and first four that are exactly the same, hoping that the user doesn't realize that some of the characters in the middle are not the right address. So yeah, always be on your guard. Random parts in the middle, that works. And the last five, that's pretty good. Yeah. Spread, thank you, David. Yeah, we're talking when you're doing a trade on an exchange, like say Bitcoin to US dollar, the spread can get you too. So in a case of $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, maybe if you're swapping it from Bitcoin to stablecoin and you're using one of those third-party exchanges within Ledger Live, you might end up with a better deal. You might get more stablecoin for your money than if you were to go over to Coinbase. Now, of course, you can also mitigate that spread by using limit orders rather than market orders. So there's a lot of nuances to this crypto trading game, that's for sure. Yeah, it could take 20 minutes to get over to Kraken. Yes, I'm so happy to be here educating everyone. Thank you for that. Arbitrage and spread. Very good. I believe you were looking for is the spread between the bid and the ask. There you go. See, I'm always happy when you guys are here because you fill in the blanks of, when I can't remember terms. You're always there to help me. That's really cool. Let's refresh one more time and see if that stablecoin hits my Kraken account. There it is. All right, so we transferred from my Ledger wallet over to Kraken, and stablecoin hit the Kraken account easily. So there you go. Now I got $50 worth of US dollar coin in my Kraken account. So we did a swap, we did a transfer. I wanted to play around with stablecoins tonight. You're going to find more and more sites where they're going to accept stablecoins as payment. But there are some stablecoin payment rails where they're asking you to use kind of a third-party service. I believe there's one called Coinbase. I wanted to say Coinbase Enterprise, but that's not it. It's Coinbase Financial or something like that. And I think the reason that some of the vendors use those services, there's another one called USDC Stripe. And I think the way those third parties work is the end user can pay in Bitcoin or stablecoin, but the vendor gets a conversion into fiat immediately. And that's why they use some of those third party payment rails or services. So I'll see if I can find a service similar to that. And that is a little more complicated than just them giving you an address and you sending it. A lot of times you have to connect a particular wallet to these services in order to, for the transaction to work right. And Ledger doesn't always work the way you would want it to because of its hardware. It generally will fail because it doesn't have the it doesn't have the functionality to wait for a hardware verification, right? They're expecting the wallet to sort of be wide open. But anyway, maybe we'll look into some of those. and I'll demo some of those too, maybe in the coming weeks. But don't forget, next Saturday, Jesse Hogbin from Caleb and Brown will be here. I'm going to do my best, and hopefully all the audio and video will be working so that we can have a nice conversation with Jesse, and you guys can ask any questions you may have about Caleb and Brown. I know I focus on self-custody, but Caleb and Brown is a great institution for people that, and believe me, I've met many people that maybe self-custody isn't the right fit for them, and they need the kid glove treatment, right? Especially if you're a large investor and you're dealing with large sums. You don't want to leave it to chance that you might click the wrong button or something like that. So let's wrap it up, guys. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Don't forget, I do this every Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please join me again for the live stream from Michigan, where you can throw out questions and I'll do my best to get them answered. Hope to see you there. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate it. When you subscribe, there's a little bell that you can click. That will allow you to be alerted whenever I post new content. Once again, thanks for joining me, and hope to see you again soon. Thanks again, everyone, for being here. Have a great night. See you next week.